Hey everybody, it's me, Cyrus. Today we're going to be taking a look at Final Fight, the series of games that, goes on forever. It's a battle that never ends, despite the name. So that's why I refer to it as the best lie in gaming. It's an enjoyable lie, for a change. And this one is on a lot of different consoles. It started in the arcade. There's been various different ports of this to different consoles, different kinds of variations of that, and some that are still being worked on and being released even today. So we're just going to take a look at a few different versions of Final Fight, sequels to Final Fight. And, I love this series. Obviously, Final Fight has a tremendous amount of influence in gaming. And I think it's awesome. So I just wanted to dive in and play a little bit of this and talk to you about some of these other versions of it. So let's do that. Let's jump in right now. All right. So Final Fight, even though it was released in the arcade and on the 16-bit consoles and all that, it actually also has a very interesting 8-bit version on the Nintendo Entertainment System. So let's take a look at Mighty Final Fight on the NES and play a little bit of this because it is pretty unique. It's a pretty different take on Final Fight. It's kind of funny, and I think it's actually pretty cool. Mighty Final Fight. Here we go. This one does let you pick all three of the characters. That's pretty cool. And we'll stick with Cody. I highly recommend Turbo. Obviously, these graphics are not going to compete with the arcade version or really any of the other versions of Final Fight, but I like the style of it, and it's actually a lot of fun. It's really not Final Fight, it's like a whole different beat 'em up almost. All right, now there's another Nintendo NES Final Fight. It's not official, but it's actually pretty cool. I think you should check that out too. So, just a second, we'll move on and check that out. I like the chiptune recreation of the music and everything. All right, let's check out this other game. Believe it or not, the title screen might make you think this is a Neo Geo type of thing or something, but this is actually a port of Final Fight 3, and I think it's actually a really good port for the NES. The graphics, the sound, I mean, obviously you can hear the sound is pretty much just a rip-off of Model Final Fight, but the graphics and the gameplay is actually pretty interesting. Let's play a little bit here. And you actually have several characters. Look at that. All the characters from Final Fight 3. Alright, here we go. Obviously, this is not a commercially released ROM. This is a hack. I should say it's not an officially released game from Capcom. It's pretty cool, though. I gotta admit, the graphics are pretty good. And obviously, they're using the music from Mighty Final Fight. That's good too. And you can play 2 players, so that's not too bad. We'll look at just a little bit more on this, and we'll move on. Okay, I think it's time to take a look at that pretty famous Super Nintendo port. A lot of people don't like it because it's only 1 player, but I still think it's actually really fun. Let's check out Final Fight on the Super Nintendo. Alright, and Final Fight, like I said, great arcade game and a pretty decent port to the Super Nintendo, considering this was a launch game. It came out within the launch window of the Super Nintendo in the United States. It's not perfect. Resolution is not as high as the arcade, And there are some limitations, there's some differences. Biggest difference is it's one player instead of two player. And also the other biggest difference is you don't have all of the playable characters. Let's watch a little bit of this game, then we'll jump in and play a little bit. Alright, here we go. So yeah, no guy, just Cody and Hagar. Or some people call him Hagar. I don't know, whatever. I always said Hagar. We'll stick with Cody. You can get a turbo controller this game. You can like throw some punches really fast. Does have a little bit of slowdown in it too, but I mean, I think these graphics are actually really solid for the Super Nintendo. Big sprites, sound effects are fine, sounds good. The music sounds really good too. I can remember renting this game back in the day and just having a blast with it. Believe it or not, they brought out another version in Japan that did let you play as Guy, and they called it Final Fight Guy. Let's check out Final Fight Guy and see what's going on with that version of Final Fight. Okay, here we go. Final Fight Guy on the Super Nintendo. Let's see if we notice some differences in this opening sequence. Just let it run for a second. Yeah, so again, there's some differences here, obviously. You can now play as Guy, but there's no Cody. Also, I should point out that in the opening sequence, it is edited depending on if you're playing in the Japanese version or the American version. So, not a big deal, but they did edit it slightly. Because I think your girlfriend's dressed up in a bra and stuff in the Japanese version. I don't know. They figured that was too much. I mean, it's nice that you can play as Guy, right? But where's Cody? And I believe this is still only a single player game, which is unfortunate. It's the same game, basically. I think there might be a few changes that, enhancements or changes that they made. But for the most part, it's just the same as the first game, except you can play as Guy instead of Cody. It's unfortunate that that's the case, because Sega obviously answered Final Fight with Streets of Rage, and that was 2-player even in the first one. But Sega answered Final Fight in another way, which was with their own version of Final Fight on the Sega CD. And that one lets you play 2-player with all 3 characters. And the graphics maybe aren't as colorful, but I think a lot of people will tell you that they really, really like that Sega CD version of Final Fight. So let's find out what what all the fuss is about. Why do people like the Sega CD Final Fight so much? Let's check it out. The Sega CD version of Final Fight is not perfect, like I was saying. The color palette is pretty limited for the Sega Genesis and Mega Drive, but with the addition of the CD memory storage and the enhancements available on the Sega CD itself, you can do some great stuff.
Metro City, a well-known crime capital, has been ruled by violence and death for many years. A fact which the newly elected mayor and former street fighter Mike Hager plans to change. At the center of the problem is the huge gang known as Mad Gear. Mad Gear controls all of the major criminal activity in the city. When they learned of Hager's plans, they took immediate action to bring this new mayor under their control. Sometime in 1992.
Hello, Mike Hager here.
Hee, Mr. Hager. So pleased to make your acquaintance. I believe you know who I am. Don't hang up. We have a little business proposition for you. Your daughter for your cooperation. And we'll throw in the regular monthly bonus to your salary we offered before.
What? What happened to Jessica? Who is this?
Not so fast, Mike. Turn on your TV.
You son of a... What have you done to her?
Nothing yet, but we'd enjoy the opportunity. Listen to reason, man. Why make your job difficult? Just let us do as we please, like the mayor before you did.
Guy, Jessica was kidnapped. Jessica?
My sweetheart since childhood.
The Mad Gear must pay. She's my friend too. Count me in.
Yeah, so this is a little more intense. Got some extra stuff going on with the graphics and sound and music. And yeah, this is just a fantastic port. Let's check it out. And by the way, 2-player simultaneous. But also, not just that, you get all 3 characters. You can pick any of them that you want. So, let's pick Hagar or Hagar, whatever you want to say. Let's play a little bit. Believe it or not, there's some fans that actually made a new version of this, of the Sega CD version, with some enhancements. Whether or not it's improvements or not is kind of subjective, I guess, but let me show you a little bit of what that looks like. The enhanced, improved Sega CD version. Okay, here we go. The enhanced Sega CD version of Final Fight. You tell me, is this better or not?
メトロシティ、ここには平和も秩序もない。
We'll skip to the game. And just so we can directly compare, we'll stick with the same guy. I'm not sure if it's better or not. Believe it or not, there's actually another fan project in the works for Final Fight, but it's not for the Sega CD, it's actually just for the Sega Genesis. Final Fight running on the Sega Genesis without the Sega CD or anything like that. What does that look like? Well, it's still in production. Depending on when you watch this video, it might actually be finished. I don't know, but I can show you a little bit about it, show you what it looks like. Let's take a look. Okay, here we go. Like I said, this is a new version of Final Fight for the Sega Genesis that's being built, and it's still a work in progress. If you're curious about this, there's a link in the description. I encourage you to go there and support the project and help get this game finished if it's not already done by the time you watch this video. So it's pretty cool. I'm gonna let this run for just a second, then we'll jump into the game. Okay, let's check out some gameplay footage. Alright, here we go. And we'll stick stick with Cody. Pretty amazing to see what's possible. The music, the sound effects, the graphics, very impressive stuff. I cannot wait to see this get completed. So, like I said, go check it out, support the project if you can. I think that's really amazing. But Final Fight wasn't the final fight, as you know. The game, the series continued on, and there were sequels to Final Fight. So let's check out the Super Nintendo sequels to Final Fight, Final Fight 2 and Final Fight 3. All right, here we go. Final Fight 2. Yes, the sequel that was not in the arcade. It was Super Nintendo exclusive. Pretty interesting stuff. This one alleviated some of the concerns about the first Final Fight because this lets you pick from more characters than the original release, and you get to play 2-player finally. I think Final Fight 2 is a very good beat-em-up game. He's always on the phone, this guy. All right, let's check out some Final Fight 2. 3 characters to pick from this time. And they're very different play styles. We're going to stick with Hagar or Hagar, but you should check out these other Maki or Carlos because it's very interesting, the differences there. Really good colors and graphics, big sprites, music's good. I very much enjoy this game. Look, it's Zangief from Street Fighter. Zangief Light. I love these moves he has. Really cool. Gotta be careful because I will just keep playing this all day. But we gotta take a look at the next one. Final Fight 3 is a game I actually just got the cartridge from my friend Max. And let's take a look at it because it's a little bit, I think, more advanced and also a lot more expensive. But I think some people think it's a better game. I don't know. I think it might be. Let's check it out. Final Fight 3. By the way, I'm going to mention that I'm playing this on my Super Nintendo console, my American Super Nintendo. I normally would prefer to play on my Super Famicom, but for some reason, this game has a little quirk. When you get to the title screen, it says Final Fight 3. The big 3 comes up on the screen and everything. But if you play this on a Super Famicom, and it's not just this cartridge, it's the ROM itself. If you play this on Super Famicom, that 3 does not appear for some reason. I don't know why. It's a very strange little quirk that I discovered. And I'm not sure if there's other graphics that would also not appear. So I just decided I would be better off playing this game on the Super Nintendo. So that's what I'm doing. Just in case, I don't know, that might be something you find curious. This Final Fight, like I said, is more advanced than the previous two. You actually have moves that you can pull off in this game, and that adds quite a bit to the gameplay. There's that 3 I was telling you about. And again, 2 players simultaneous. Several characters to pick from. And I'm going to stick with Guy, because I like it. Everyone's moved this thing. I'll do like a fireball move. You can actually run now and do a jump back. It seems like this game is faster than the other 2 Final Fights. Super move. Another game I could play all day. Final Fight has had a lot of different ports on a lot of different consoles. Not just the 16-bit, but beyond that, far beyond that, actually. Final Fight 3 is actually just an awesome game. This was re-released on like virtual console services, and it's available a few different ways. Play through emulators and stuff like that. There's never been a Final Fight 4, but there's been some interesting newer versions. Alright, I've got my PlayStation 3 fired up here because there's a couple of things I want to show you. First is a PlayStation 2 compilation disc that has an arcade port. Well, I don't know if it's really a port, but it's the arcade version of Final Fight, basically running through emulation on the PlayStation 2, which is running on my PlayStation 3. Maybe not the best way to play Final Fight because, unfortunately, PlayStation 2 games like this tend to be interlaced. So you end up with some scan lines and things like that. But we'll check it out real quick. There's a lot of games on this compilation. And for all intents and purposes, this is the arcade version. And we'll just skip through this and go straight to the game. And we'll play as Cody. You can see there's a lot more animation, way more animation. Colors are a little bit better, details better. It's the arcade version. even with the interlaced video, it still looks really good. And this is definitely a great way to enjoy Final Fight. Plus it's 2-player. But I think we can do a little bit better, because there's a really cool re-release of Final Fight that was packed together with another game. It's called Final Fight Double Impact, and it's on PS3, but it's also on like Xbox 360, and I think you can even play it on the newer Xbox consoles and on PlayStation 4. So let's check out Final Fight Double Impact. We'll just close out of this and go straight to it, actually. Now, I'm not 100% sure if Double Impact is on the newer PlayStation and Xbox. I'm going to have to double check that. So let me do that real quick. Okay, I'm actually wrong. It looks like, from what I can tell, that Double Impact has never been released on the newer platforms, the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, or the newer Xboxes. But it is available through the Capcom Beat 'em Up bundle. I mean to say Final Fight is, not Double Impact. Looks like this is going to end up being one of those games that... Ooh. Error has happened. Let's see if I can figure out what's going on with that. Hang on. Well, it appears that Final Fight Double Impact no longer functions on the PlayStation 3. I was reading about this, and it looks like there's a DRM protection, which since PlayStation Network is not functional the way it was on the PlayStation 3, I mean, I'm guessing that's what's going on here, but apparently, yeah, Final Fight Double Impact will not work. Even though I own the game, I can no longer play it on the PlayStation 3. Well, that is absolute garbage. I didn't even know that. So now you know, if you want to play Double Impact on the PlayStation 3, you can't. But I do own it on the Xbox 360 also. Let's see if it'll work on that console. It's not going to work on this one, unfortunately, which would be my preferred way to play it. But let's see if it still works on that. Okay, after resetting my password and going through a bunch of hassle, because I don't really use Xbox, I have got my stuff back up here. So let's see if Double Impact will work on the Xbox. And it does look like it is compatible with Xbox One and the newer Xboxes. So I guess that's good if you're into the Microsoft consoles and that ecosystem. Really sucks. Really disappointed that the PlayStation 3 version seems to no longer work. If you know something about that I don't know, please let me know, because that's pretty disappointing. Okay, so here we go. Double Impact. The cool thing about this game is actually there's two games here. There's Final Fight and Magic Sword. That's pretty cool. So we're going to focus on Final Fight. And you can play this with the bezel and everything like that, or you can actually change that. We'll change it here. Remastered music, that's pretty cool. We're going to change this to widescreen mode and the regular mode. Widescreen, let's see here. This seems to stretch it, I think. So we'll stick with the zoom so it's taking up the full screen there. right, let's listen to this remastered music while we're playing this. And we will go with Guy this time. This has been my preferred way. This has been my preferred way to play Final Fight for a while. So I'm really pissed off that I can't play it on PS3. I don't understand that at all. One thing I want to check here about the controls. Yep, there you go. Okay. So if you want turbo, you got to have a control that supports turbo. I may have to get me an Xbox Series S at some point. I don't think I need a Series X, but it might be worth it to get a Series S. Pretty cool remastered music. I know this says local multiplayer, but I don't know if it offers online multiplayer or not. By the way, there are other ports of Final Fight, obviously, on numerous things, including the Game Boy Advance and a bunch of other things. I have it on my PlayStation Portable as well, as part of a collection on the PlayStation Portable. There's a Game Boy Advance game called Final Fight 1 that's pretty unique. It has some stuff that's not in any of the other Final Fights. So, tell you what we could do. Might be able to fire up the GameCube with the Game Boy Advance player and check that one out real quick as we wrap this up. Let's see what that looks like, if we can get it to work. Alright, here we go. Final Fight 1, the Game Boy Advance version. I'm running this on my GameCube Game Boy player. So you can tell they changed the story a little bit too. And this one, Guy's not friends with her. He doesn't even know who she is. So yeah, you could play Game Link on this. So 2-player if you can hook up your Game Boy Advances. Look at this, all 3 characters. Oh, save was canceled. I'll leave that alone. See, they've changed some things here. Nobody's coming out these doors. This is different. And the graphics are different. They're not, this isn't just like a straight port. You gotta tell me, what do you think is the best version of Final Fight other than the arcade version? Is there a version that you prefer to play? Because there's ports of it available for so many consoles. I mean, I showed you like some PlayStation stuff, PlayStation 2 I mean, but there you can actually play off of compilations. I think there's one for the original PlayStation. There's one for the Sega Saturn. There's tons of great ways to experience Final Fight. So let me know what you think. Let me know what's your favorite. I believe that my game has frozen up. Oh, I should have cleaned the cartridge. There's your downside to some retro stuff. Okay, anyway. Oh yeah, we got a problem. That crashed. Alright, anyway. Thanks for watching, guys. I will talk to you later. Bye-bye. Maybe I have had my Final Fight. Maybe at least on the PlayStation 3, the Double Impact. Sheesh. All right.